Welcome to the Mentally Healthy Workplaces Asia podcast. My name is Wen, and I'm the Chief Impact Officer at Flourish DX and host of this podcast. So we really do this podcast to really share thought leadership, conversations, and practical guidance from subject matter experts, service providers, innovative tech platforms, and employers in the Southeast Asian region. So really, workplace mental health, it's about a shared responsibility. So it's not just on the employees to keep themselves healthy, but on the employers as colleagues, as community, working together to really see us flourish in our workplaces and in our life. So today we have a very, very special guest. We have Gasper Tan, CEO of Samaritans of Singapore. And Samaritans Singapore is a nonprofit dedicated to providing confidential emotional support to individuals facing a crisis, thinking about or affected by suicide. Welcome, Jasper.
Hey, morning.
How are you?
Very good. And how are you?
I'm good. Just before we started recording, Jasper and I realized we're both coffee addicts.
Yeah.
Do you have your coffee? And I'm like, do you have your coffee?
The first thing to check in with, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I guess it's routine. And we were just talking about how, I was sharing how I never was a coffee drinker. And then I started working and getting into it. And it was more of a social thing for me as well. I love the smell, so being a foodie, but just also just the company and just holding a cup of coffee and having a conversation with the colleagues. Do you have much of a coffee culture at your workplace?
Yeah, in fact, the first thing when I started work here, I tried to get a coffee machine here. So now we have a coffee machine.
It's important. I think these things are important. I mean, I know
in
Singapore.
Important.
Yeah. I know in Singapore, the pantry.
And it's for the benefit of our volunteers too, because they work 24 hours, midnight, they need that extra dose of coffee.
Yes, for sure. And I'm sure you have a good selection of teas and all that. And the workplace pantry, I've heard in Singapore back in the day, was very important. People used to compare, what the company provided in the pantry. Yeah, so I guess in Asia, food's a very, very important thing. It's a country of foodies and a region of foodies. So anyway, just thought we'd just dive into it, Jasper, and tell us a bit about yourself and your career and your journey to date.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. I spent about 30 years in commercial sector, before I switched over to social service sector, in the last 3 years. I guess it was a half time for me, and I want to do something more meaningful, I guess. Yeah, and these two sectors, commercial and social service, they are totally very different, in many ways. And I was worried initially, if I was able to fit into this sector. One thing for sure, at least, is that my previous work experience has helped me somewhat to settle down, to fit in, and especially, my management skill is transferable, and that was very comforting. At least skill there, and I enjoy my current work. And especially it's very rewarding to see how we can impact others' life positively.
Yeah. And I guess, like you said, you just joined in the last 3 years, and the last 2 and a bit years has been the pandemic. So I'm pretty sure, was that like a bit of a surprise when you joined and you thought, oh, everything will be the same going? But I'm sure in the last 2 years, like your organization and the demand for what you do has gone up, and probably very hectic for your volunteers and your staff. How has that been like?
Yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail at the head.
No.
Yeah, the last 2 years we have seen a 34% increase in our call pickup rate, and about 44% increase in attending to suicide and crisis call. Due to this huge demand, we struggle in the early phase of the pandemic period to cope with the surge. I must say that we have a very good team, very dedicated team, and especially the staff. They have to take multiple roles to support each other during that time. And we, not just supporting in our service and programs, but also to take care of each other. Check in with each other. Supporting each other. At the same time, expanding our operation. such as launching our care text, which is our text messaging service during that time to reach out to the youth, and also successfully, negotiated and secured a 4-digit number from government, to simplify our old telephone number, which is 1-800-221-4444 to just 4-digit 1767, and make it easier for people, in distress to reach us. We have also, during that time, because of the surge in demand, increased our volunteer recruitment exercise from twice a year to 4 times a year. And on top of all these activities, we also look at opportunities to review our programs and services and explore how technology, can help us enhance our service quality and delivery. So all these things happen at one time. So can you imagine the kind of, I wouldn't say stress, but the kind of workload that we are facing, and also, the growth in the organization.
Yeah, I love how you said that during this time, your employees and the team really came together for each other and not just the beneficiaries. In the nonprofit world, I think a lot of times people go into it wanting to serve other people, and you're always thinking about, your clients and your beneficiaries, but actually your team itself are going through so much. And I just love that you said, it wasn't just for our beneficiaries, even though that's why you exist, but for each other. Do you have any examples of how like your team came together? I guess it's just sharing stories and kind of inspiring others. Especially, I mean, the pandemic's still ongoing, and nonprofits are still really busy. Yeah. Do you have any live examples?
Yeah. For example, the pandemic escalated very fast, right, during the initial period, and government was announcing different stages of restriction, right? And when the Prime Minister announced DOSCON Orange, which means we are not supposed to come into office. We are supposed to separate the teams. We need to reduce people from coming into office and all these things. We have to, and because of the way our organization was organized, before COVID, all the operations was cluttered in one area, and because of those restriction requirement, we have to split into 2 teams, and we don't have different sites. We only have one office, so we have to separate the office into 2 different areas, distinctively. And we, all the staff, I remember, roll out their sleeve to move the table, the chair, the computers, and I try to, use their imagination to see how to distinctively separate 2 offices to make sure that we are having 2 sites, to support the operation. And yeah, it was really an experience to see, how different people, come together, different groups of colleagues come together with common objective, just to make sure that our operation are still able to provide, to support people in distress during that time.
Yeah, I could imagine. It's like, one of those times where, like a big event happens, and like when everyone bands together, you come out stronger because you've gone through like the trenches together. And I'm sure that was a great setup actually for what was to come, right? Because I mean, 2 years on, and times are still not that easy. I think that relationship building and being in the trenches together would have been amazing just to watch and be part of. So during that time, you just mentioned as well that you were reviewing, even all the programs and activities of the organization. So specifically for the workplace, I was just wondering, what does SOS do in terms of any preventative or upstream kind of programs for workplace mental health? I think you shared previously that you came up with a couple of initiatives. Can you share further on that, please?
Yeah, certainly, pandemic has certainly brought a lot of attention to mental health. And I think, thanks to pandemic, in a way, mental health topic conversation surface a lot. And, we have more people, getting to know about what is mental health, right? and especially workplace where employees, are supposed to get used to new way of working, working from home, right? And many organizations have also started to pay more attention, because when staff are working from home, how do you engage them? How do you check in with them? And that actually encourages a lot of talks, programs, events, activities to support, mental well-being of staff working from home. And we are very encouraged by all these activities, talks, and programs. There are also task force, and conversation at government level, right? And looking at how, to bring about improvement in the whole healthcare system. Healthcare system is not just about physical health, right? Now we have to be inclusive and look at mental health, because mental health is one big part of healthcare system now. And that's very encouraging, and I'm happy to see all this progress and development, and how our society embrace all this important aspect of employees' well-being, balancing, performance achievement and employee mental health being.
Yeah. And during that time, did any employers reach out, or, organizations reach out just kind of for help, or, even talks? What was that like in terms of addressing workplace mental health, apart from the government level? And I think it's great that the government's looking at more holistic health, because, many years ago, allied health, even like all your rehab and all that wasn't a big part of the healthcare system, and that's changed. And now mental health is. But yeah, in terms of the workplace, did you see any kind of main areas that employers were looking for help in?
Yeah, in fact, the last 2 years, there are a lot of inquiry about, giving talks. I think it's good, because starting with talks, at least you open up conversation, right? And we are so encouraged that a lot of corporates are now engaging us and trying, not just us, I think many other social service agencies that are in mental health space, to give talks, to engage their staff, and to look at programs to support their mental well-being of their staff. And this is all very encouraging, and this is something that I would say a positive outcome from pandemic. Yeah, because before COVID, people are just looking at productivity, management skill, leadership, specific skill, how to improve productivity and things like that. But without, looking at the mental health, of the staff, right? Because mental health of the staff or your employee actually will affect the productivity, of the organization.
Yeah, it's gone from just getting the outputs, which is, the productivity and all of that, and really going back to, the people themselves behind it. Because if you do have happy employees, and they're very, satisfied with their work, and they get a lot of satisfaction from their work, the productivity would naturally come out of it. So it's kind of focusing on the wrong end of the stick in some sense, focusing on the end part as opposed to the people and the people behind the work.
Yeah, so you see, like mental health, right? Especially suicide, topic about suicide, right? Which is where we are in. Suicide or having suicide ideation is not a sudden behavior, right? It builds up over time, right? And it's important that we keep our mental health in check and have regular self-care. Unfortunately, suicide is still pretty much a taboo topic in our culture, especially in ASEAN or even perhaps Asia, right? And we need to open up the conversation, normalize this subject, and let people know that it is okay to talk about your mental health, right? Your struggle, just like when you have tennis elbow or you sprain your wrist, you seek help, right? You complain and say, oh yeah, it's very painful, right? I need to see a doctor, right? So allow yourself to seek help, when you have mental struggle, or something that is bothering you in a long while, because the earlier you seek help, the better you are able to keep your mental health strong. And I'm sure many of us been through this situation where you drag to go into office, right? Fear of being scolded by boss or your superior, pressure of, or fear of workload being dumped onto you, right? Stress over peers pressure on dressing or behaviors, right? Imagine you carry this burden with you daily. Over time you'll break down, and you're unable to perform well and not, even at a normal pace, right, at the workplace. And you probably have also sleepless nights and all these small little things, build up, and one thing
accumulates.
One thing will lead to another and affect your mental health well-being, and eventually you'll break down, right? And another example is that, can you imagine yourself overeating sugar or sweet things over a long time, right? You will be at risk of developing high sugar level in your body, and also at risk of having diabetics, right? In a similar concept, similar way, what do? You make an intentional action to reduce sugar intake. You self-care your body system, right? So similar, in the same way, to take care of your mental health, you also need to make intentional effort, right, to reduce the toxic influence, which may affect your mental health being. So if your workplace is toxic, talk to your management of the HR to see if there is anything that can be done. Otherwise, making a change will help your mental state. Again, referring to my earlier example of reducing sugar intake, you probably have to change your whole diet, right?
So you're really talking about preventative, but also taking action.
Yeah.
So a big part of it's self-awareness. And then, I mean, even for myself, I'm a big extrovert, and I know that if I have days where I'm just at home in my study doing work and without seeing someone, I can actually feel myself going a little bit, I'm just not my usual self, because I just haven't got that energy that I usually have when I'm around people. So then for me, it's planning my diary. I'm very specific that I need to see that I'm having a coffee or, meeting someone. Oh my gosh, coffee again. Okay, a meal. I'm starting to feel like I'm an addict. But yeah, just like, I'm meeting with people, and these are the small things to just build in, like you said. It's like, what actions do we need to take? But sometimes, like you said as well, a big change is needed, like a whole. And so, I mean, my personal story is I'm slightly gluten intolerant, and I literally had to cut it out, and it changed my health like completely. Within 3 months, I had lost like 15 kilos, which is a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my body was reacting to it, and I didn't know that it was gluten. So then, like, just like work, sometimes, you do try, I was exercising, I was doing a couple of things, but the underlying issue was actually gluten for me. So then I had to make the change. And like with your mental health and workplace mental health, like what you're saying is sometimes you do need to make that big change. And that, it's just, if it's really toxic, you've tried all your best, but maybe it's time for a change. And that takes a lot of courage, especially, And I think the other thing that I hear a lot of when I see is actually people's confidence going down because of certain events that's happened in their work. And then it kind of spirals out, and they don't have any more confidence in their work. And I don't know why that example came to my mind, but it's something that I see. And you feel it yourself as well. I've been in those situations where I haven't done well in something. And like you said, it's whether how you present yourself at work or being, scolded. That's such an Asian term, but being scolded at work here. And then that it really affects your confidence about going into work and bringing your best in. So thank you for sharing. I think these are very practical examples, but also I think going to the preventative side, we're really talking about doing preventative work in this area so that people don't, go down the slide of failing mental health, and then really getting to the end of the road for themselves. So in the future for SOS, do you have any future programs or initiatives that are coming out, and anything specific to the workplace that you can share with us?
Yeah, in fact, our plan is to work towards encouraging early help-seeking behavior and identification, right? And suicide prevention, or even mental health well-being is everybody's business. It's not just SOS or agency in this sector. Everybody have to watch out for each other and support each other. I totally agree with you that sometimes when we struggle, it's important that you find someone that you can talk to, someone that you can share your burden. I think that's very important, and we cannot do it alone, definitely. And in SOS, our plan is to hope to rally the whole community, and to do this, last year we have already rolled out a program called Chat Safe, all right, CHATSAFE. As you know, during pandemic, a lot of people go online, right? Social media is a big thing. You are restricted in your movement. You basically stay at home most of the time. The only way to get connected, to make friends, is social media, right? And it is important that we want to make sure that we build that online resilience, right, among the social media user or online user. And ChatSafe is a program that we hope to reach out to the youth or those IT savvy individuals to be more online resilience, where when you connect with your friends or make friends, or even look at content from the social media, you know how to respond, right? For example, the chat safe will teach you how to respond to negative emotions or messages online, even on your WhatsApp, on your friends send you, or even when you encounter self-harm image, you don't like it, so that will be, you will have a lot of disastrous impact on that, right? You like that negative emotion, you're actually encouraging them, right? Or you see a self-harm image, you like it, you're actually encouraging them, and these are the people that they say, oh wow, a lot of people say that, yeah, this is right thing, you're sending a wrong message. So that program actually teaches those users to be more mindful, to be more sensitive, and to see how to encourage a positive mental health being, and of the person who posts that message. So that's for Chat Safe. And another program that we will be rolling out next month will be a community-based first responder program. We hope to encourage early help-seeking behavior and identification, right? So during this pandemic period, there are a lot of people that struggle, and don't know where to seek help. So this program actually is suitable for anyone, especially the frontline workers and also office workers. And it provides that basic skill for you to engage people when you see someone in distress, and how to start that. First of all, how do you identify the person that, from the behavior, to see the person whether is in distress or not, and then how do you start a conversation, engage the person, and of course, how do you then refer the person to the right resources, for help. So it's a very simple community program, first responder program, just like first aid, right?
Yeah.
You start a conversation with the person and then refer the person to the right resources in the community. And I hope that program will help a lot, and we'll announce that program very soon. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I would definitely share it on my LinkedIn and social media as well. We do hear a lot, especially in workplace mental health, where people just don't know what to say, or spotting the signs. But even just how do you go around this and have a conversation? So I think that will be really, really helpful.
Besides, because you see someone when he's distressed, you try to avoid, right? Say, oh yeah, better don't go near that person, right? But I think that person really actually, in fact, need more help, at that point in time, right? Yeah.
And how to do it in a sensitive way and helpful way, rather, because I think the fear is that people are scared because
Wrong thing.
or make it worse, and you're like, oh no, I just made it worse. But yeah, that sounds excellent. It's kind of like it sounds like a part down version of psychological first aid or mental health first aid. Is that right? Am I correct?
Yeah, it is
Great.
something like.
Yeah, no, I think that would be super helpful. I would love to share that because, yeah, not everyone is apt, or and maybe they just don't feel confident about having those conversations and even where to direct people to. Because, yeah, we know that we're not the help as such. We are part of it, just being there for the person. But then how do we direct and where can we suggest that they go to? That sounds really great. About what month or what quarter, so that I can keep a lookout on it.
So we'll keep you in the loop.
Okay, fantastic. I would love to share.
Very basic program, supposed to reach out to anyone, we have big organization now signing up with us, waiting for us to deliver that training. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's really, really great. And on your previous point, just about chat safe, and, on social media, it does remind me also for professionals and for people in the workplace, just things like even LinkedIn and all different social media platforms. It's a new, I mean, it's not new, but it's just to navigate it in a safe way. Like social media, and just like, because everything's online now, and even etiquette. Just even, when you start work, you don't even know how to write a business email. So it's actually learning. Yeah, I remember I used to be like, should I write dear, hi? I used to be like, and how are you? I was like, how do we word it? But I think it's like learning the skill set and engaging in a new forum as such, even more so. I mean, it's always been there, being online, but like, 80%, 90% of our work is on there. So it's just learning a new skill set, and all of us are getting trained, but also putting boundaries. I think it's also just as when we go to work, if we have to do late nights and all that, that's fine. But then now it's the boundaries of how do we do work in a new environment, on an online kind of, our work from home basis. So yeah, I think it's just so much learning, and I'm glad that SOS is coming up with courses like, to just help people along this journey. I think we all need a bit of handles and community to navigate a world that just seems, unfortunately, that it's not really changing that much, but hopefully better days ahead.
So my advice to listener, take a pause, don't just like everything, on social media. Sometimes it can be a harmful effect, if you just press that button and say like, so take a pause, and think carefully before you press the button.
Yeah, because it does affect the algorithms of then what you see next. Yeah. And it's like you're going down a road that you didn't realize. So thank you for that tip. So I know, like, you work in a mental health space, and so do I. How do you take care of yourself? I think we always have to walk the talk. It's so much easier to suggest things, but for ourselves as well, to practice it. So how do you go about that on a personal level, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I think maybe I start with my organization.
Yeah.
I think work-life balance is very important, especially for people like us, working in SOS, where we are supposed to help people, but first of all, we also need to make sure that we are strong enough, right, mentally, to be able to do that. For example, in SOS, we implemented no text messaging after 8 p.m. On weekdays. If you want to text, it's fine, but you don't have to respond. And that's like a message to everyone, right? You can text, it's fine, you text, but we don't have to respond to you, right? Unless if it's very urgent, then you give a call to the person at night, right? For example, because we run 24 hours, we do have emergency at night. So make a call to the person, if there's emergency. So we try to, let people have a rest, after 8 o'clock, don't bother them, and a good rest at night. And on Friday, we try not to have meeting after 4 p.m., and to allow staff to wind down and get ready for the weekend, right?
Yes.
And we even introduced, since last year, we even introduced a therapy session for staff. Staff, can take therapy session as and when they want, to,
to decompress themselves.
Decompress, rebuild their mental strength and things like that. This is on top of their employee assistant program that they have. They can call for chat anytime, right? that we already have in place. Yeah, and I hope more organizations will be able to look into small little things like this to help encourage and promote mental health being, at workplace and for the employees. And for myself, I usually will take a walk in the evening, and especially on Saturday morning with friends. And like I will always pamper myself with my favorite food on weekend. Like sometimes go Japanese, sometimes go Korean,
Yes.
sometimes steak, Italian, Well,
Yeah.
you look forward to the weekend, make yourself comfortable with what you want to do on weekend, right? And not just be bothered with a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
And
Switch off.
Yeah, switch off, stay away from work, intentionally. I also look for activities that you feel comfortable with. Like for example, I may not be appropriate to say in a podcast, but you do
okay.
have some wine, on the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Something that you're comfortable,
Yes.
Watch Netflix, binge watch,
There's no shame, Jasper. There's no shame in admitting this. I love my wines. I mean, coming from Australia with its, great wine regions. And I love my Netflix. Actually, I learn a lot from Netflix. I mean, I do watch a lot of documentaries, so no shame.
Yeah, and sometimes I catch up, conversation with my colleagues on Netflix. Hey, have you watched this? Hey, have you watched that? Yeah, and it's a conversation that help you to relieve, right, from your daily stress, and especially the work that we are doing.
Yes.
I'm just here that you have some time off. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing. It's been a joy having you on here. I mean,
Yes.
and when we were preparing for this podcast and your team was on there, I realized that how much the team laughed together. I could really see the joy in the way you guys work. And it actually reminded me when I was back in Perth, Australia, there's we call it Lifeline across there. And I visited, Lifeline. So it's very similar to SOS. And I walked into their office and they, like I didn't know quite, how it was run and everything, but there was a lot of joy and just like, I mean, I think they were really glad to be able to serve people. But they also realized the real need to be able to laugh and to have, to decompress moments too, because it's very heavy in terms of talking to people who are really needing help. But then for us, to take care of ourselves mentally, to be able to shut, like have lines, but also then have a relief, an outlet as well. So I'm really glad as an organization and even personally, and you obviously lead by example as well. That's a very good signal for your team to then also enjoy life, on your time off, have time off, don't worry about work. So thank you so much to what you and your team and SOS does here. And thank you for your time to be on this podcast. So really looking forward to seeing your programs come out, and definitely let's all share and really, let's all get knowledgeable and feel comfortable in this area and help each other out as a community. So thank you to our listeners for listening today. So if you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, we're on LinkedIn and YouTube. Just find us as Mentally Healthy Workplaces Asia. You can follow Flourish DX on LinkedIn as well to see a short clip of this and also upcoming guests. And please connect with Jasper and myself on LinkedIn if you'd like to continue this conversation. So thank you for listening in and have a fantastic day. Thank you. Bye.